All right, so we're back here at the Broken Slow RC channel. I've got Alice back on the bench, the Element Enduro Trailrunner. And, you know, in the first bench video of this, went over a couple of things with regard to wiring and what have you, and you can see I've shortened up the wires. I've changed the soldering position on the motor, so now red goes to red, black goes to black, and I am ultimately happier at the end of things. And really, you know, I mean, that counts for a lot. At least I think it does. So today I'm going to address one of the other issues that I had mentioned, which is the ESC. And like every other video that I have seen on this truck, everybody is like, oh, the ESC and the brushed motor and what have you, it doesn't do the things that I want it to do. And, you know, they end up throwing a hobby wing fusion in there, or, you know, some other brushless conversion, which is fine. I mean, that is, from what I can tell, an excellent motor. ESC combo. Brushless certainly has some major advantages. You know, I started in this hobby with brushed motors. I still continue to run quite a few of them throughout my collection. And ultimately, you know, I do think that they still have a place. You know, I also think that brushless has a place. But for this rig here, like I said, this is a daily driver kind of project. It's a trail truck. I felt like the drag brake was set up for rock crawling, where it is pretty intense. Like I said, as soon as you let off the throttle, the truck comes to an immediate stop, and like you watch it, you know, kick up. Like there's no roll after the fact. You know, some people have said that they have problems with low speed control and whatever. I have not actually had major issues with that. You can watch some of the running footage I have out there, and I mean, you know, in a crawling type format, I have done rather well with this. You know, it has the disadvantage for crawling with the version 1 independent front suspension, but you know, I'm not trying to create the ultimate crawler with this project. Well, would you look at that? So you can see the gasket. Hopefully you can see the gasket in there. If I can catch the light just right, it's got like a twist in this section. It's got some deformation going on around here, but this is after I had removed and heated it with a hair dryer and put it back in and then pressed it with the cover. And so what I'm basically getting at is what it looks like now is overwhelmingly better than what it looked like from the factory, which, you know, neither is impressive, but this is better, and I think does probably a significantly improved job trying to keep water out of this box. So the whole reason we've got the box open is I'm not convinced that this ESC and motor combo is as disappointing as a lot of guys try to make it out to be. And I managed to find a Reedy program card specifically designed for it. And so instead of spending 80 to 150 bucks on a Fusion, or, you know, 60 bucks on a bargain Amazon ESC motor combo, and just changing everything out and throwing away perfectly good parts that, you know, for the most part, like I said, perform relatively well, seem to get the job done just fine for me. I'm going to try and move a couple of settings around and just eliminate the things that I don't like about this, which, you know, number one, we are going to start with the drag brake setting, and I'm going to drop that down where this is, at least in my world, intended to be, like I said, the daily driver style project. Ultimately, you know, when you let your foot off the gas on a real car, it doesn't just, you know, come to a sudden stop. It's allowed to roll. I mean, if you were on a hill and, you know, you took your foot off the brake, you would roll. If it was a standard transmission and you had it in first gear, you'd get some resistance from the transmission, and it would still roll as long as you were on enough of an incline, but it would roll with the resistance against the transmission. And so that is the kind of roll that I'm looking for, is, you know, something with some resistance, but I'm not looking to have, you know, a hill brake necessarily. So this here, we just unplug the ESC from the receiver and plug it into the program card instead. Connect the battery. And it shows, can we see that? Yeah, you can see that. All the lights are lit up. So setting number 1 for initial drive is at 5%. Low voltage cutoff is at 3.4 volts per cell. Drag brake, as I suspected, is at 100%, which we're going to knock that down to 50. Yeah, just moving the arrow down lets you select which thing you're adjusting, and then the horizontal arrow allows you to pick the new setting of that adjustment, and then you hit program and the blue status light flashes, and that should be all set. Maximum reverse power is at 75%. That's fine. Punch control, we have soft, medium, and max. It comes set on soft, and I have not had an issue with that. I'm going to leave that there for now. I think initial drive, I am going to move from 5% to 2%. And I'm saying that just because, you know, ultimately I feel like that should give me better control, so that when I do decide to step off the trail and crawl on a rock, I'm not going to have that like sudden jerk as it starts to move forward. I should be able to initiate a very slow, more controlled crawl. You know, that's my theory anyway. Whether or not it works that way, we're not 100% sure. But that should be all set at this point. So we're just going to disconnect the battery, disconnect the program card, and then plug the ESC back into channel 2. And now that should be all set. So shove the antenna back up inside the little stick there. Get my cover back on. Where is my driver? There it is. Well, I know a lot of guys like to use power tools and just zip these things together. I still use hand tools for everything. You know, going into plastic, it's just way too easy to over torque stuff and strip things out. I mean, you definitely can set a clutch so that you have a mechanical feature as a safeguard. You know, I still prefer doing it this way. You can do it whatever way you want. Hopefully our gasket has stayed in at least as good a shape as it was. I've tried calling Associated, which is the parent company for Element, on more than one occasion now, and I have not yet gotten their service department to pick up. I'm hoping that they can send me a new gasket for that so that I can have one in there that is actually flat and, you know, ultimately does all the things that we want the gasket to do. And, you know, having read the advertisement on this truck, it really sounds like it was supposed to come with the transmission gears that allow you to change it to 12% overdrive instead of the 6 that's from the factory, but it also sounds like the set of gears that I would like for this rig, which offer the 0% overdrive, so you have a true 1-to-1, nothing different front to back. It also sounds like we're supposed to be included from the advertising that I read, and you know, they did not come with the truck, so where it's unclear, I was going to call them up and find out, but so far, getting a live person on the phone has not been easy. While I'm here, pop this cover off. Looks like it should just be these 2 screws. And it is. Yeah. So yeah, last time I was out on the trail, I had like a squeak, 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 kind of sounded like a rotational bearing noise. The bearings inside the wheels are all a sealed bearing, so that, you know, if one of those is squeaking, there's not a whole lot that I'm going to do about it other than wait for it to wear out and replace it. On the motor has bushings, and you can't really see it on camera, but right there behind the pinion gear is one bushing, and then on the opposite end where you see the tail shaft stick out the back is the other one. And I figured, you know, just in case anybody needs to know, you don't necessarily need any kind of specialized oiling device to put a drop of oil on those, and believe me, they will appreciate it. What you want is a zip tie, standard issue zip tie, and then all you have to do is put the vehicle in a like upright position for this one, and then you're going to reach in and put the end of the zip tie on the motor shaft, and then stick a couple of drops of oil right on top of the zip tie, and you'll watch them just run straight down and land on the motor shaft and spread out on the bushing. And once you've done that, you know, just give it some slow throttle so the motor turns and works that oil and draws it straight in. And do that every so often to keep things lubricated and moving the way they're supposed to, and those bushings in your motor will last a lot longer for you. All right? So, until next time, have a great day. I'm going to get out and hit the trail. We'll see you then.